Hey everyone, this is GOL from Productions², and I'm here today to kick off our third developers vlog for Combine Insurrection. So the last couple days, or rather last couple vlogs, I've been focusing more on Hammer stuff. I wanted to kind of get away from that, and also I wanted to work on other things this development cycle as well. So we're gonna go more into some more of the source code kind of things, and some stuff I added, stuff I changed, and other things having to do with the resources within the actual mod itself that I've gone through and modified. There'll still be some Hammer stuff and still be some stuff for XSI, but it's going to be predominantly about the changes I made to the actual source code. With that in mind, let's go ahead and open up a few things here. Actually, no, we don't need that. We need this one. Yes. Alright, and whoops. I'll minimize that. Get the Hammer going, and we also want to have the project file open here. Alright, so let's go over the first over some of the major changes first. What's going to happen is we'll do some stuff in Microsoft Visual Studio, then we'll float over to Hammer, then into the game, then back over to here to MSVS, then we'll go over to XSI, and then back into Hammer, or I mean not Hammer per se, but Hammer and the game. And that will be what we'll do this for this vlog. But some of the major changes that were made was to the HUD. What I was trying to do, and this will require a little bit of explanation, but what I was trying to do was originally I was trying to use an image-based progress bar to simulate something like what they do in TF2 for the health bars. Something where the health bar would become less or more depending on what your HP was. Try as I might, the code that does that for this game, or for Source rather, excuse me, that's on the VDC actually doesn't work anymore. I don't know if it's that stuff has changed and the code hasn't been upkept by whoever made it, or if it never worked in the first place. But it doesn't work, period. So I went ahead and just stripped all that away and deleted it. And instead I was thinking about it, and I came up with the idea to try and use the flashbyte, yes, the flashbyte, the flashlight bar, energy bar, as a means to do just that with the health. But I didn't exactly know how to do it, so I went on to the VDC and typed in health bar, and voila, up came an article about how to do that. So I used that code to help me create it, and then I modified the code as I needed to make it appear the way that it does now. Let's go over some of the stuff in here. This is the header file for the health bar. What we have here is the base color for the bar chunks. It's obviously red. This sets the alpha for the disabled sections of the bar, disabled chunks, and what that means is that as you lose health, excuse me, as you lose health, the brighter sections of the bars will start going down, and behind them will start rendering darker sections, indicating that those sections are not filled. That's what this sets, is the alpha for that. The bar insets, the insets here for X and Y, determine where the bar is actually located within the VGY element. Well, I guess it's a VGY panel, not element. And depending on how you want the bar to render out, you're going to have to change this and mess around with it. If you want it to render out horizontally like it does originally, then you need to leave it as it is in the VDC code. But if you want it to render out vertically, like I have it done, then you have to switch the values for X and Y and then change them to get them moved around to the correct placement. Bar width. This just determines how long the bar is and how high the individual bar segments will be. This determines the width of each bar chunk, and then this is the gap in between each chunk of the bar, each bar chunk. And then all this stuff here is dealing with the text, which I don't use. I'm planning on trying to use a text importer, if you will. It's essentially an importer that imports an image that you can use to put stuff into your HUD, but I'm using it to do it with text that will have labels for the bars. However, I am running into some problems with those, and if I can figure out, well, not problems, but problems with the font itself that I was using. But if I can figure out how to add the actual font into the code somehow, if I can find some sort of guide that has or example code for it, since the VDC articles are very inadequate on that front, then I can actually just use these variables here to get the text showing up through the game code, instead of having just to import an image file. And the text I'm choosing between to use are these ones. It's gonna be one of the. It's either gonna be. I've already rolled out some of them. I tried 5 was the one I was originally using. It looks kind of cool, but as you can see, there's these nubs here. And once you get these down to a certain size, you can't see these at all, and it actually becomes counterproductive because it's hard for Photoshop or any photo processing program, image processing program, to accurately apply some types of fills and changes to them without having a little artifacting going on. It won't change it to a solid color, it'll fade it out, kind of, because these little jagged edges here are not are like half a pixel or something. So that's not really going to work too well. So it's really a choice between 1 and 2 here, or 6 and 7. These other ones, I've decided that probably shouldn't be used. This one could be, but it looks kind of just too weird. I think that the Combine wouldn't be using that. This one looks cool, but again, I don't think it's something the Combine would be using. Now this one or this one could be a text type that they might use in their combat suit interfaces and stuff. But in order to get this to work, there's actually a couple things I had to do with some of these. Since I have them for, well, let's go over and talk actually about how I got it to work, period, originally. Oh, also, I went through the old HUD element code, which is still here because it's still doing the calculations. This is just pulling the updated numbers from the C-based player class to use them, but the animations are now done within these as well, since these are the ones that they're going to be applied to. So there's not really any reason to keep them on the HUD health and HUD battery, HUD armor classes. I also fixed some of Valve's crappy coding on this front too. They had it done somewhat unrealistically. Like for instance, if you just got into the game or loaded up a save file, if your health, armor, or suit power, which is now shield, values were below the level at which it would run the X low animations, they would actually not play them at all. Which I don't think is very, it's not how they should have done it. It's actually pretty lazy. So I fixed that. But I think I have a bug with the, or actually I know I have a bug with the shield bar, because the animation will not play unless the amount of shield points you have is over 40. So if you start at 0 with the element being disabled, or rather just alpha'd out, the alpha is all the way down to 0, so it is invisible essentially. It will not come back until you get above 40. I think that it's either the code here, or it might be a thing that we need to work on in the animations file to add that in. But it works fine on the armor, just not on shield for some reason. That was one reason that I also changed the shield, the item battery value, from 20 to 40. It's because of that issue. But that makes more sense anyway, since one, because of that, two, because the shield value is 200, the maximum shield value is 200, so it would take twice as many of the old item batteries to fill up your bar than it will now. Now it'll take the same amount as with health and health and armor. But the way I had to go through this to get this to work was pretty aggravating, really. It took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to figure this out, so I'm going to be saving you a lot of time if you decide to use this. It's been raining since last night. So it's pretty freaking humid, and the humidity really kicks my ass as far as my sinuses go, so I had to get some my Everest gum to kind of unblock the airways. But what was I talking about? Okay, so this, I'm going to be saving you a hell of a lot of time by explaining how to alter the way that these render out, if that's what you want to happen. If you want to go horizontal and fill in from left to right and empty from right to left, then you don't need to change anything, because the code does that by default. I want them to, though, be vertical and empty downward and fill upward. So I had to change the code. So what happens is that in order to switch the bar from rendering horizontally to vertically, you have to change this by switching the Y position with the X position variables here. So X1 and Y1, you switch them. X2, Y2, switch them. And then there is another step after that. This only will make it vertical, but it will fill to the bottom and empty to the top. So what you have to do then is you have to switch this from a xpos plus equals to an xpos minus equals. This doesn't change, but when you do that, it will alter and switch around the way that it empties and fills, so that it goes the correct way. Empties downward, fills upward. And you need to do the same with the disabled, in quotation marks, chunks as well. If you want to use the text, it's down there. I just take it out. I had it there because I was messing around with it, trying to get the fonts to work using the create font code, which again the VDC does not have the adequate amount of documentation on. It's like literally 1 or 2 sentences is all they have on it. Whoever made those pages is an idiot. Need to be way more documentation. Why is this if? Wow, what the hell? No wonder. Now, if you're going to be like me and you're adding in armor and using the battery as a different function, you're going to run into some problems with this system here. And that is because for one, armor, if you add it, well, armor the way I added it, didn't actually get updated. And 2, Valve screwed up the battery code, the battery/suit power code, so much that it's just a total mess. And I'll explain that right now. The way Valve handles the suit power is really convoluted and really, if you ask me, it's pretty damn lazy. I think one of the reasons that might be the case is because they just took the code from Half-Life 1, where the suit did act as an armor supplement, as well as powering stuff. And so suit power was drained along with using those items and also taking damage. That doesn't happen in Half-Life 2, but the code is there for it to happen. I think they just ripped the code out of Half-Life 1, altered it so that didn't happen, and slapped it into Half-Life 2. That's the only explanation I can get other than Valve just being lazy as all hell. So what I had to do was I had to create the C base player equivalent of the battery variables so that we could update it properly. And the way that works is, excuse me. The way that works is that in the HDD battery, we now have on the onThink, I put in a set battery variable that will set the new battery value. And that new battery value comes from the messaging system that goes between the server and the client. And so whenever a new value is sent, that will get updated through this code here. And then that will allow the shield bar, which calls on those that variable in the CBase player class, to update. That's around here somewhere here. Right here. I had to do something similar with the armor class, except it was a lot easier. I just had to add in this, you know, what you saw over here, this line here into the HED armor class. All the variables were there and ready to be used. I just had to add this and update it. The health value didn't need it because it's already updated somewhere. I don't know exactly where it happens at, but somewhere it's already communicated between the client and the server. Any changes in the health is. Maybe it is done here. Let me see. So, no, yeah, see, they don't even use a messaging thing for it. Oh, wait, no, here it is. Yeah, it is. This is interesting. And there's animation down here. Huh. It happens somewhere, maybe not in here, but it's already done, so I didn't have to worry about it. Let's see, what else should we go over? Yes, changes to animations and stuff. So, since I was working on that stuff, I went through and decided to change a couple things because, one, the way that Valve did the actual animations, as in put them into the file, was completely lazy. And that I can say. They were totally just lazy about it. They didn't have them grouped up by what type they were doing. They had suit power and health animations just spread all over the place. So I went through and I took everything and put them into categories. So we got all the health animations together, all the armor animations together, and all the shield animations together. And what I also wanted to do was, since that these are using different colors for the actual elements themselves, was to change the color of the animations. And so that's something else that I also changed in the resources folder. Oops. The client schema added in some new colors that are used for the shield and armor animations. Still working on fine-tuning them. They need to be dropped down a bit, really. Let's see. What is the flash? The flash uses the background color and I guess it's this one. This one here is what it uses on the pulse. So where's the shield pulse one here? So that needs to be... Oh, it's set to 80, so why is it so damn bright? Bright damage, that's text color. Let's see, background color. Let's see, again, that's not what we need to see. Bright SFG. This is for the shield low. Okay, let's change this down to 230. Or let's go down to 200. No, 230 because that's the, we'll do the same thing with this one. Alright, and then save that. Yeah, I changed some of the names of the animations too. For instance, Valve had one that was named Health Increased Below 20, which was used to say, if your health was increased but didn't go over 20. So I took that out and renamed it into Decreased Below 20, because it makes more sense. But anyway, that's all the things I did for that. What else? Let's see. I think that's everything that I changed. That's everything worth mentioning for the moment. So we're going to go ahead and get into Hammer now. And I'm going to show you a map that I'm going to be making that's going to be included with the mod when it's released. And this map's really going to be just kind of a sandbox thing for you guys to mess around with all of our different things that we've added in. And also just to mess around with stuff from Half-Life 2 in general. If you played Skyrim with the Leveler's Tower mod, that's kind of what's inspiring this. It's just going to be a kind of a sandbox place where you can spawn enemies, create items using this system here, and mess around with a lot of the different systems that we've included into the game. So first, let's talk about this. This was a pain in the ass to make, and there's still an issue with it that I'm having to deal with. let's see. That's the armor, shield. I don't think it really matters where this is at. It's supposed to be doing it to the origin of this entity, but it doesn't really have an origin, which is what's odd. If we do it down, but what this all is for is to create items. Right now it only creates health, armor, and shield items to increase your increase those attributes. But eventually it'll be able to create a lot of other things. And the way this works is it's a twofold kind of system. All this stuff over here is just for creating the items. This stuff here is for keeping you from using two of these buttons at the same time. And these communicate with both of these to make the system work. So what happens is that when you push one of these buttons, it sends out a value to this math counter and this math counter. From there, the value is sent to the logic case here and there. And this logic case then determines which of these logic branches is called. Over here, this does stuff differently. This will send a value to this math counter here, and also turn on a sprite down here that lets you know that you can use this button. You could use this button anyway, and then use one of these, but that's kind of doing it reverse of how it's supposed to be. But I can't force you to do it that way because there's a bug within the code where if you have a locked button and you unlock it, and then you lock it again, and then you unlock it a second time, the second time it's unlocked, well, it will not unlock. It'll remain locked. So you can only lock it twice, or you can only relock it once. And after that, the code will not let you unlock it. And I tested this out with just a basic logic auto and a button, where the logic auto would lock a button, unlock a locked button, and turn on a sprite indicating that the button was unlocked. Then lock it again and turn off the sprite indicating that the button was locked. Then unlock the button a second time, and the sprite came on, meaning that it should have been unlocked, but when I tried to use the button, it wouldn't allow me to use it because it was locked. So instead of doing that, I had to change how that worked. So I ripped out most of the I/O stuff from here and changed it and put it over into this one, and I did the same thing with this and put most of it over in this one. So instead of that, once this trips this and then you push this button, it sends another value here, and this will hit 2. On 2, this will trigger case 1. And case 1 sets all this stuff into motion, and then triggers one of these logic branches, which causes one of these to make its item, and then once that item is created, this logic branch will trigger and shut everything else down and reset everything. So let's just go through basically how this would happen. This is the health button. It sends a value of 1. This is armor, sends 2, and shield sends 4. And the reason we have to do it in a staggered fashion is because if this was 3, when we push this button, it would send a value of 3 to here, and that would trigger this stuff here without actually needing to, because only one button's been pressed. And so what happens is that by using this as a 4, we then now have a way in order to detect if 2 buttons are pressed, but allow them to be used individually. So if button 1 and 2, if these 2 buttons are pressed, that'll equal 3, which will trigger this and reset these buttons. If this one and the shield button are pressed, that'll be 5 because this is a 4, and this stuff will be triggered. If these 2 are done, it'll be a 6, which will trigger these. And also, this stuff will also not allow this has